All right, we are live, and today we're doing something very different. I am going to actually do a live follow up on the story that I did about a week ago about a possible problem with Rivian. There's quite a few things that happened since, lots of comments from you guys, lots of little things happening on the back end. I'm going to talk about the response from Rivian. What my conversation with Sandy Munro, private conversation, produced. And I'm going to have a great guest, the only journalist who actually reported on the same story, Gustavo Ruffo, who writes for Outer Evolution. He used to write for Inside EV, so he's going to come in a little bit later. And we're going to start right now. Welcome to E4 Electric. Welcome to all of you guys watching me live. Now I'm going to try to navigate this. I have quite a few things that I gotta say. I'm going to still try to answer some of the chat questions. I will probably do a little bit later. Meanwhile, let me know where you're watching me from and what kind of an EV you have right now or hoping to buy soon, and we'll get to all of your questions. Let's keep these questions to just the Rivian topic. Really briefly, just in case if you haven't seen my video, last week I have published a video about a possible defect that a Rivian might have in their cars. Now, one of my viewers who I've actually communicated with for a while before has sent me some pictures. And these are the pictures of an accelerator pedal in his Rivian R1T truck basically breaking off. And as you can see, the what appears to be plastic part, just kind of basically the shelling where the little spring goes, it just kind of cracked into two. Now, I asked him, obviously, what did he do to sort of have this happen? And he basically said that the sole of his shoe, as he was getting out of the truck, caught the pedal and it snapped right off. Now, some people are saying, well, of course, if you yank that pedal really, really hard, that's how it's supposed to be, because during the accident, if your foot gets trapped in there, it's supposed to break off. And so I questioned him on that, and he said that he did not put that much force into it. Now, there were a few other things in my video that I called out. For example, I was already working on a couple of other stories, including the one that, Rivian is actually pushing some people who shouldn't be getting Rivian trucks right now in front of dedicated, loyal customers who put their reservations back in the day when they needed the support and money. So let's talk about what happened since then. And again, I will try to field some questions from you guys. Now, first, let's talk about the response from Rivian. As you know, Rivian has pretty much stopped communicating with me after I started, publishing some stories that were not very positive, very negative actually, including calling them out on trying to intimidate rich rebuilds at one of the events, which I witnessed myself, and I thought it was completely unacceptable. Now, again, if you ask me, a PR department's job is actually not just to organize fun media events and talk to, journalists who are, love Rivian. It's actually to deal with people like me who actually bring up some negative things to their attention. And it's really in their best interest, in the best interest of the brand, to actually give the other side of the story to you guys, my audience. So, after the story was published, I know for a fact that they have watched the story. They're definitely aware of the story. I have people who are within the Rivian community who know their executives and their PR department. So I know they are very much aware of the story. And yet they've still decided not to reach out. Now, here's a couple of things that are kind of bothering me and should really bother you about it. First of all, listen, we're talking about a potential issue with an accelerator pedal. Now, like I said in my video, this is the only case that I know of. So I hope this is just a fluke, just a defective part, right? I really hope. However, it needs to be looked into just to make sure it is. Now, I know from the owner who gave me these pictures that they have approached him and they are looking into it. So that's how I know this is not just one-time thing, and that's it, that there is a possibility that this could be a bigger defect, because otherwise they would have given him the truck back with the new accelerator pedal, which they fixed, and they would have said, sorry, man, It worked exactly how we planned it. There's nothing to fix. And there's no reason to look into it more. So because I know they're looking into it, it's definitely a concern, which is great that they're doing that. However, they might. I think it's in their best interest is to reach out to someone like me. I get it; they don't like me. I get it. That's fine. But in the best case of, but in the most in the interest of their consumers, they think I would think they would reach out to me and say, Alex, we really don't like you, but do you have any other information about this that we can, rely on and to conduct our investigation? Because at the end of the day, we all want the same thing, whether it's Rivian PR people or me here in my studio. I want to make sure that this is not an actual problem and people won't be getting into accidents and or worse, right? So I now and they also might want to address the upcoming story that I told them is coming up about how, I know people who are buddies with their executives, and they got their trucks before those people who put reservations years ago. That's not right. I mean, you've seen some YouTubers who got it ahead of time. So you make your own conclusions. So I would have, if I was Rivian PR, I would try to get at least the other side of the story, and not just to concede to it. Now there's as most of my videos, they get a lot of positive response saying, Alex, thank you so much for exposing this. This is definitely an issue needs to be looked into. And of course, there will be a bunch of negative comments. And most common one that I feel like I should address, even though I don't really think it's a very legitimate one. But they say, Alex, you're just butthurt. You are just butthurt that this brand cut you out of their media events. They don't give you the truck anymore, or ever, and you just butthurt. And I will tell you, you are right. I am butthurt, but not for the reasons why you think. I honestly have gone to so many media events this year that I'm taking the summer off. There's an endless amount of them. They're all great. By the way, they all look great on Instagram. If you ever see my Instagram during my trips, it looks like it's absolute heaven, and it is. However, this old man, sleeping in other hotel rooms out of your luggage and sleeping in the planes and airports and lounges, it gets to you. No matter how amazing the destination is, and it's not a vacation. You still have to work. So I can definitely live without another media event for a while. The reason I'm butthurt is because it wasn't that it's me who didn't get invited to these events. It's you, my audience. That's the whole point of this channel. I am on the side of the consumers, my audience. So when I don't get invited, none of you get invited, right? And as you probably noticed, whenever media gets invited and there are videos about the event, most of the time they're very positive. I have to say, I am one of the few journalists that actually go out there and not always rave about what I saw. As a matter of fact, when I went to the ID Buzz unveiling in Austin, my story about how much I dislike the ID Buzz came out as the PR department from Volkswagen was having dinner with me on their dime, and I was staying at the hotel that they paid for. If they never invite me again, because that's fine, but I have to do my job. If I didn't like something that I saw, I would do it. So when I don't get invited, you guys basically don't get to have an opinion that's obviously different. Let's just say, at the very least, different than everybody else's. So that's sort of my beef with that. So you guys should be offended more than I am. Now, all right, no response from Vivian. It's very unfortunate still. Maybe one of these days that we'll get, PR people have a turnover. Hopefully one day they'll get a PR department that actually does their job, if you ask me. But let's move on to something else. Let's move on to the community response. And it was very interesting. Now, I know when some people, because people email me and they say, I am a reservation holder and or a current owner, and I try posting your video and your story on the Rivian forum, and a lot of moderators took it right down. They did not want a negative story about a Rivian, which this brings me to a very interesting thing that I've been fighting for many years now, right? Where people who own a product are more worried about the reputation of the multi-billion-dollar corporation than about their own safety. If you're a reservation holder for Rivian, which I'm not, or a current owner, you should want this story to be blasted everywhere. So Rivian and hopefully NHTSA takes it seriously, right? Or maybe we discover another defect from another owner, and that your family and you are safe with this possible defect. So it blows my mind, and I've gone through this with Tesla community and other communities. It's more mainly Tesla, let's be honest. Whenever you expose a negative flaw in a company, that benefits the consumers because that will be taken care of if this is a thing, right? It's in your best interest that Rivian takes care of this and actually looks into this problem. So that's number one. Number two is some of my advertisers who are usually pretty chill. They're like, Alex, we know your content, and whatever it is, you just put us in. So they don't really decide which video is going to go in. In this video, some of them said, "Oh, I don't know. I don't know if we want to do this. You know what? We want to stay out of it." Which obviously means that the Rivian's influence, even on my advertisers, is quite big. Which brings me to another point, which is thank you to Energy. It's Energy Pal, because they have agreed to be our sponsors. So let me tell you a little bit about them. Energy Pal is, well, if you go in solar, but not sure what panels to get. I'm not even running the right clip. So let me start. Oh, whether or not to get a home battery or how much all of this is going to cost. Well, Energy Pal will do all of that for you. And you, my audience, gets $500 gift card when your installation is complete. So if you use the link in the description of this video, you will get that. So essentially, it's kind of like shopping for insurance through a broker, where you don't have to do anything. They'll find out which panels to use, which prices are better for you and for your house. I have a whole video about it. But anyway, thank you to Energy Pal for actually sponsoring this video when some advertisers did not. Let me be honest, like they're afraid of Rivian to, get back to them and maybe I'm going to leave it at that. Now, here's another interesting thing, and this is why I'm going to have Gustavo in a few minutes, is pretty much all publications have not, electric car publications, have not decided to republish this story. And that actually surprised me because, if you read some of the electric car publications, you'll know that you can fart too close to a Tesla, and if it gets caught on camera, it will be on their website, right, as a story. So I was actually quite surprised to not see anybody pick this up. And some journalists told me, it's like, Alex, in order for this to be a journalistic story, you have to have two sources. And I totally understand it, though. Like it's not always the best practice. I mean, I don't want to kind of challenge journalistic integrity in general. But for example, I'm working on a story because one of the Rivian workers at their factory reached out to me and said, there's something going on in our factory. And, I said, well, listen, I'm going to need to have a second source. And like, yeah, my buddy will absolutely do that. Well, okay, now I have two sources, but are they really that good if they're just friends, right? And in this pictures, in this case, I had pictures, right? I had actual pictures of the defect, and I had a bit of a history with the person who sent it to me, and it was my journalistic judgment that his story is good, and I very much admitted that I'm just relying on this one person. But that wasn't the sort of a point of the video. The point of the video was that, listen, we need to look into this because I mean, this could be a bigger problem. So I think it's for the better of the community. And you don't have to look at my video as a journalistic piece. You can look at it as a vlog for all I care. I don't care. I just want to make sure that this is looked into. And I really, really hope I'm wrong, So, so it was kind of weird. But at the same time, I said, well, I could have gotten his wife's, confirmation. Yep, there's the second person. But I wanted to be as honest as possible, and as which I always am with you guys. So I just decided, let me put this story out as soon as I can, and because this needs to be public. Because if I'm and some of you guys even accused me of saying, Alex, why did you wait for 3 or 4 days to publish the story? You should have just came out with it right away. Which now I'm thinking well, maybe I should have just maybe tweeted it out or something like that. So, and yeah, and like I said, it's only, and here's an article by Gustavo that he published about this. But let me show you something very interesting. So this is what. Oh, come to find out, when my story came out, Rivian was holding a media event. I didn't know about it because you guessed it, I wasn't invited. So now I'm thinking like, oh, okay, that's probably tough for these guys to be, wined and dined by Rivian, and be typing the story about how they might have a major defect based on this some YouTuber's video, right? So I can see that. I can see how a lot of these publications were like, this meal is delicious. And don't get me wrong, I've gone to those events many times, but my record is very clear about what I've done during those events, even if it wasn't good for me as far as my income is concerned. Uh, so that's another thing. Now, let me show you a public sort of back and forth that I had with one of the YouTubers. He's pretty known. However, he's a friend of mine. And honestly, I'm not here to start any type of beef. So I asked him if I can use it, but I wanted to actually blur his name. So here's our communication. This is still public, but this is on my private Facebook account. So he basically said that, hey, Alex, I wouldn't believe this guy. He said, as a general rule, I never believe customers. I know if I broke it, I would have swear up and down that it was the lightest touch ever. Uh, this is the journalist telling me that he's going to be on the side of the manufacturer. Now, my reply, of course, was, yeah, but you know who else I would trust even less than customers? The car manufacturers. So, as you can see, and this is, I don't know what to do with it. I don't know because it comes from other journalists and it comes from a lot of customers. They care about the brand more than they care about the product in their driveway that can kill them, right? And their families. Uh, I see it a lot with the Tesla crowd. They are just like Elon Musk. They'd rather have Elon Musk be richer than have an extra feature or maybe instrument panel in front of them. It blows my mind, but nevertheless, I'm just showing you how this was met by journalistic community, which again are sort of tied to having to have these relationships with brands because they need to deliver the first drives and first impressions and car reviews to you. And I totally understand. It's just I'm not playing that game. As you probably noticed, I don't do car reviews. And it's not just because I really don't like doing them. I really don't. I don't care how many cup holders and yeah, I don't. But it's also because I don't have to be, in good relationships with these brands. And I am with some, like for example, Ford. I have criticized Ford many times, but their PR department has always invited me to every event, and they always reply to every single one of my inquiries. I'm working on a negative story about Ford right now, and you know why, right? Two recalls, and they're replying to me like this. And there are some brands who decided, you know what, we don't want to talk to you. You're mean. GM, Porsche, Lucid, Rivian, well, Tesla, obviously. And you know what? I need to be okay with it and still be able to give you my opinion, which I think at this point is very unique because no one, now, here's the big one. A lot of you told me, Alex, you have Sandy Munro on your channel all the time. As a matter of fact, every week. Why don't you ask him? Let's talk about that. So again, I'm not here to start beef with my content on my channel is not about my relationships with other journalists or other YouTubers. But as you've noticed, Sandy has not been on my channel for quite some time now. I think a couple of months. And let me tell you, that was intentional. Sandy is no longer going to be on my channel. Maybe there will be some exceptions, but generally speaking, I don't believe having him on my channel is beneficial to my audience anymore. There's more going on in the back, behind the scenes, but I'm just kind of giving you an idea that we're no longer working together, and it is on purpose. However, because we're not on horrible really terms, when this happened, when I saw these pictures, I actually called him up, and he picked up, and he was like, what's up? And I said, hey, listen, I have this story. Would you let me know? And he reluctantly said yes. And I said, he said, send me the pictures. So I did send him the pictures. And that's been now a while because that was about a week before I published the story, or maybe several days. And he essentially refused to comment. And he has an R1T truck that he has been working on right there. The answer for him is only inches away. I know he travels, but when he is in his office. So you make your own conclusions why he decided not to comment. But I'm going to stick with my narrative here, which is I don't know if it's a widespread defect. All I know is that everybody needs to be aware of this, and Rivian needs to try to figure out if this is a widespread issue because their manufacturing has been a disaster. As a matter of fact, I reported several times now that the guy in charge of it, who was in charge of Tesla manufacturing in some ways, is no longer there, and they have a new guy in charge. Guess why? Because they're really not really good at it. So it is a possibility. Also, there are no other instances because, well, they only have two, three, maybe 4,000 trucks on the road. So even one out of 4,000 would be bad. It's not like they have 300,000. And then if you only have one instance, you go like, oh, okay. So that's something that I definitely wanted to mention. And again, I hope Rivian gets back to me because I'm now working on two stories. One is once again, cutting people in front of good, customers who supported the brand from the very beginning. And I think it's you pick your own word. There now I'm talking to a few people with some factory issues, but though I'm still going to have to vet that story a little bit more because, just because people are unhappy with their jobs or working for a company they may not like, it doesn't make it a story. So I'm still researching that. So we'll see. All right. So now let's get to the journalist who actually did pick up this story and ask him, what the hell is he doing? What the hell is he doing? He's going to be cut off from Rivian as well. So let me bring in Gustavo Ruffo, who is a writer for Auto Evolution, and he actually used to write for Inside EV. So, Gustavo, welcome to the conversation. How are you, my friend?
I'm okay, guys. And thank you for inviting me to talk about this.
All right. Well, let's talk about this. First of all, what's wrong with you, man? Why did you decide, against everybody else's really wishes,
You
to
know,
actually write about it?
you remember that I contacted you asking you permission to use the images because I thought it was relevant, and I said, well, Alex, if you allow me to take some screenshots of this video and to publish the story, it would be very interesting. Because I have already heard many times, this is anecdotal evidence, you shouldn't write about it, but this is how you find out about more serious trouble. So it was necessary. So I thought, when I saw your story, I thought it was very relevant, and I wanted to help give it the dimension that it should have. That was the deal.
Right. And so here's Stan in the chat room says, one failure is not a trend. And it looks like he hasn't been listening to what I said. I'm not claiming it's a trend. I'm asking Rivian and NHTSA to check if it is, because if it's a trend, people might actually die, right? Because this is an accelerator pedal. Would you agree with that?
Sure. I think that whenever you have any evidence that something is going wrong, you should try to explain it at least. Not amplify it, not make it a thing that is bigger than it is, but you must explain that. This is the deal of journalism in a way. So I'll give you one example. Months ago, I wrote about a Volkswagen 93 that caught fire in Groningen in the Netherlands. It was the only case that happened, but it was a case in which the car was charging. The lady that owned this car, she had her kid inside the car. She only had time to take him out of the car, and it burst into flames. So it was serious enough for us to try to understand what happened there. And ironically, the ID3 has the same battery supplier as the Hyundai Kona and the Chevrolet Bolt EV. So there was a link there that could lead us to think, well, Volkswagen is using millions of these cells. What if there is anything wrong with these cells they are using? So I started trying to dig up that, and it was only one case, but it doesn't mean that I shouldn't look about it. Oh, I'll wait for somebody else's car to take fire so that I go investigate it. No, that's not how it works. It shouldn't be like that.
Right.
You know?
And I got to tell you, and what do you think is, as other journalists told me, well, you have two sources, right? And my point is that, well, I have pictures on this source and not just a hearsay. But if one journal, let's say this guy's lying, right? Let's say he's lying. Now, I personally think that the brand is more likely to lie than a regular person who also is obviously, he was afraid maybe that the Rivian's going to go after him, than the manufacturer. But if one person can lie, why can't two or three persons lie at the same time, especially if they work together, right? But
Exactly.
does that make sense?
Yeah, sure, it makes, because my experience is that when a consumer complains about something, it's because it's either very serious or he tried this person tried to do everything possible not to go public. People do not like to expose themselves. They want to show things in the best way possible. They don't want to fight anyone. They don't want to make a fuss. They just want to show things, and they are the weaker link in this situation. So when a customer gets in touch with me to complain about anything, I pay careful attention, because I don't think that he's trying to just evade responsibility. I think he's trying to solve this. This person is trying to solve whatever is going wrong. So
Yeah.
you should pay attention.
Now, also, I have to mention that pretty much all publications, the electric car publications that I follow, and we know they are, have published stories with just one source. Like, it's not something that they have made exceptions themselves. And again, here, I don't care how you look at this story, whether it's a journalistic story or if it's Alex's vlog, Alex's crazy vlog. I don't care. My job was, I felt, my responsibility. If I see a problem where someone can die, I want to bring it up, especially I have a following, I have a voice. Obviously, I know Rivian heard me. I want to expose this. Do you think it's part of my responsibility as a YouTuber, journalist, whatever you want to call it, if I see something, not to wait until something like this happens again, but to say, hey, guys, I only have one source, and these are the pictures, and I don't know if it's an actual design flaw, but I'd rather bring it to everyone's attention.
Sure, I think that's exactly what I do. I'll tell you, if you are wrong, we are both wrong, because I do exactly the same. Because whenever you raise an issue, sometimes people don't want to talk about it, but you say, well, I have this case. What about the other guys? What about the community? Then other cases usually pop up. In this case, we have not heard anything about that. Perhaps because it's too soon to hear about any similar issues. It can be the case. But whenever you raise something, you bring something to the public's eyes. You put the sunlight over it. Or people that have had the same problem, usually they manifest. They say, well, I also had this problem. I also had some situations involving this vehicle or this part or anything. This is a way to discover more cases most of the time.
Right, exactly. Now, here's a comment that I've seen a lot and I really hate it. And I'm sorry, Ed, I think you've commented before and I know you're a viewer, but here's a comment. It's the accelerate pedal and not the brake, not so bad. I struggle to even understand how, you're telling me the accelerate pedal that can possibly break off during the drive and catch into the brake pedal and stuff like that is not that big of a deal? Bullshit. It is a big deal. If one more truck has this happen during a time when you're actually driving, right? And maybe, I don't know how this whole mechanism can go wrong, but it's either get stuck on the brake pedal or your foot gets hurt, so you can't put your weight on the brake pedal, or the accelerator pedal gets jammed and now you're flying like a Toyota. How is this not I just, I feel like people will make any excuse for the Rivian and never for the consumer.
I think that perhaps Ed tried to say that it's not as serious as a problem with the brakes, but you have already mentioned all the situations in which not having the accelerator is a problem. I'd mention one more. If you are in a situation in which you have to have power, you need gas immediately. Let's suppose a car is coming and you have to get away from them. This guy is not paying attention, is looking at his cell phone or anything like that. You sometimes need the accelerator. You need to get out of a dangerous situation. And if you do
Yeah,
not have that, what do? You all the things that make you operate, make you drive a car, they should be available no matter what. You should have the brakes, you should have the accelerator, you should have everything available. When it breaks down, it may make you scared. Perhaps you may crash your car because your pedal cease to be there where it should be. This is something that I don't think that people should try to find excuses for automakers, or if there is any issue that they've seen, any problem, we should try to clarify it because other people might be involved. And this is my main concern when I write an article. And people, I covered many Tesla flaws, and people say, "Oh, you're too picky. You are trying to damage the company and bring harm to the investors." It's not the deal. The deal is trying to discover what is wrong. That's it, and try to find a nice solution for everybody, for the consumers, because some of these guys they invest loads of money on these cars. Some people do stretches to have them, and what do they get? A car that
yeah,
they can't operate, a car that will be in a service center for months?
yeah,
That's not the
yeah.
deal.
And I'm very honest. I don't care about the investors. I don't care about those rich people who have enough money to invest into a multi-billion car company. I don't care about you. I don't care about you. I care about the poor sucker who's going to have their brake pedal or accelerate pedal something else break off and his family flies off of a bridge, right? That's who I care about. If you more care about the Rivian as a multi-billion dollar public company, then it's your thing. But that's not what this channel is about. As a matter of fact, Electrified Zero, here's another interesting comment. I already missed it. But he basically said that, oh, here it is. I found it. He said, if it could possibly be worse is your best defense, you're probably not on the right side. And honestly, I agree. Now, let me ask you this. And, as you can see, this story did not get picked up by too many publications. Well, really, you're the only one. Why do you think that is?
I honestly don't know, man. In our industry, sometimes people make decisions based on the access that they will have to cars, on the access that they will have to events. I don't think, honestly, trying to look on the bright side of the story here, I think that people just didn't get interested and were writing 15 other articles about other stuff, about what Elon Musk tweeted. I think this is what made them deviate. And people are not very, even consumers. Some consumers are not that concerned about safety until something happens to them. This is the truth. So I think that they think that it's not going to be have a great audience. People will not read it. I honestly don't care. I try to write what is relevant, and that's it.
Well, here's another comment. It says, Terry A says, one of problem, get over it. Well, okay. So first, Terry, you don't fucking know. Okay. I'm sorry. You don't know unless you're a manufacturing guru, which I guarantee you're not. So no, I'm not going to get over it. It's my job, actually, not to get over it. It's my job to investigate, to bring it up to the attention, and hopefully, save some lives once in a while. Because like I said, if this is a big problem and the design flaw, we're talking about some major, major consequences. So no, Terry, not going to get over it. And you don't know if it's a one-off problem. You know why you don't know about whether it's a one-off problem? Because it hasn't been investigated yet. There hasn't been enough trucks made to figure out, is it 1 in 3,000? Is it 1 in a million? One ever? So you don't know. And it's this type of an ignorant opinion that I just don't understand, right? I just don't get it. How do people get into this state of mind where they again, like, they become more fans of the brand than of the consumers? Any idea?
No, man. I face this Well, some companies in some cars, they do not have consumers, they have supporters. So and I've seen this phenomenon with many brands, and especially with Tesla, but with many other brands. I don't know if I believe it becomes part of the people's identities, and they try to make everything to preserve it. Oh, I am a Rivian owner. Oh, I am a Tesla owner. No, man, you are a consumer. You paid money on that product, and you should want it to be as good as possible.
So
And you were mentioning something. Sorry, Alex.
yeah. Go ahead.
You've tried to talk about clarifying the situation. I have got in touch with the Rivian PR as well, and the Rivian PR always answered me in a very short time. They were always willing to clarify stuff, including other problems that they had, such as the executive that said they were promoting a bro culture there, a toxic bro culture.
Yeah.
The guys there in Georgia that don't want Rivian to build the factory there because there are other places that they should do that. I'm also working on a story about this now. And, I try to clarify that with Rivian. And the fact that they didn't give me an answer such as, oh, this was a problem, one off. You shouldn't worry about it because it's something that was already solved. We already fixed the pedal, so don't worry about it. They didn't even get in touch with me to say that. They
Oh, wait a second. Wait. Are you saying you reached out to them and they usually do reply, and this time they
they do
decided not to
reply.
address it at all?
No, they didn't. My impression, and I'm being candid here about this, is that they just don't want to bring any attention to the problem. Whenever you don't, if you don't have a way to deny it, because this would be the natural thing to just let's end the story, say what happened, move on, and let's explain it, and that's okay. But they didn't offer me any explanation. I tagged them on Twitter asking, "Well, when will you send me any reason for that to happen?" They didn't. So my impression, honestly, is that they are just trying to ignore it to see if we will forget about it. I won't. You won't.
Yes. Well, but now, don't you think they're gonna cut you off as well, just like they did with me when I published a negative story, and therefore you won't be able to get all this, truck reviews and stuff like that, which it is one of the ways how we do our stories, right?
Yes, honestly, I couldn't care less in a way. I'll feel for my readers as well because I think they would deserve that. But most of the information that I get from Rivian comes from press releases and from videos on it. They cannot blackmail me with that. It's not something that would work with me because it would have very little effect on the work that I do. I also do not do reviews currently. I could, but I don't know. I honestly, uh, I think very much about the mechanics of our profession, and sometimes people say, "Oh, you should." I'll give you an example: embargoes. I hate embargoes. I think they are a way to control the media. To say when you can publish something, oh, we'll give you the material and the pictures and everything that you need to know beforehand for you to publish this exactly at one time, 1 hour, and in a given day. This is a way to control the press. So I try to avoid it whenever I can, you know, because it's a way to control us.
Okay. I mean, I listen. I've been going to a lot of media drives before, obviously, and I still am. But I can see. I mean, you've been to them as well, right? It's a very you create a relationship with the brand and with the people, and there's always nice food and all of that stuff. It's easy to sell out, right? It's really easy. And like I said, unfortunately, when my video came out, Rivian was holding one of those media events. Do you think that it's a possible that some of them that might have written about it, might have made videos about it, said, I can't do it while being wine and dined by Rivian? I have such a great relationship with, I don't want to name names of their PR people, right? But, is it a possibility that they decided against it specifically because they were in the middle of a media drive?
You know, I honestly, I would like to tell you that I don't think that it is an influence or that it changes anything, but it does. We know it does. Some people are seduced by these junkets, these trips, and this access to people, and they like to be friends with the executives. Not that you can't be friends with the PR guys and everything. Sometimes we develop friendship relationships with these people, but you cannot let it influence what you have to do. You cannot let it change the way you work, but it does. We know of multiple cases in which that happens.
Now, here's a question, and I think both of them are about NHTSA, so I'll kind of, well, someone was asking if it's possible to fix it over the air with the over-air update. Not this one, but okay, so Ben is asking, have you or the other owners of the problem vehicle submitted a complaint to NHTSA? So I was actually, I can answer that. So I was actually already in touch with NHTSA, with their media department, and kind of talking about this issue. So I guess I have brought it to their attention. But and correct me if I'm wrong here. I think there has to be multiple instances of this in order for NHTSA to actually launch an investigation. Correct?
Yes, as far as I'm concerned, it's like this. They collect multiple cases that point them towards something that they should investigate. So I have not heard of other cases, as you haven't as well. I don't know if that specific owner filed a complaint to NHTSA, or if he just got the explanation that they gave him and was satisfied with that. I'm not sure what happened. But this is, again, I wrote the story and you probably did the video because we wanted to bring the attention to something that could happen again. And in case it happened again, I already told you this. You are the guy that broke the story. You are the one that caught the situation starting to happen. I really hope, as you said, that it's something that is very specific, that it was a defective part, but we could see it being a manufacturing problem or even a design flaw. And if that is the case, there are more units involved. For sure, it may not break, the accelerator pedal may not break now, but it may break in a few weeks, in a few months. We don't know.
Right, and to answer to Ben, answer Ben on my side, my goal was to make sure there is no, and it's an investigation. I mean, I called for it obviously, but in terms of there has to be quite a few of these cases by the time they actually start looking into it. And my hope that Rivian will take responsibility and fix it before, if there is a design flaw, before there are more cases, because they may not end up as good as this one because this guy is completely fine. But and have an awareness, and maybe some Rivian owners will come to the Rivian dealerships and said, "Hey, listen, can you take a look at my pedal?" And maybe they'll start taking a look and saying, "Oh my God, there's already a little crack in here. We'll definitely replace it." So my point was not to be the first one to break the story or get Rivian in trouble. My point was that, hey, there's a possible issue. Rivian should take a look at it. Everybody should be aware of it and be careful. And I hope that nothing else happens.
Mm-hmm. I agree because this is the deal. The point is warning the guys that this can happen. So, at least the sense of mission, the journalistic mission here is to warn people about this. Maybe, let's hope it is one case, it will not happen again. But in case it does, we already have seen it happening, and we can try to avoid it. And especially if it's something else involved, as we said, a design flaw or a manufacturing problem.
Yeah, let me bring in another actually comment, and I think these comments frustrate me the most, right? So Kenneth is saying, literally responsible to go out with a story slamming them and not checking more than one vehicle. So this frustrates me for many reasons. One is I've literally explained in my original video and in this video about it. And this guy chose to either not to listen or not have his brain register it, and he's still coming out and going after me with this attack, where I literally just explained it to you, Ken. And yes, I also, if you watched the video, I absolutely did check other vehicles. Absolutely did. So what do you do with people like this guy, right? I mean, brought it up once, brought it up twice, was really honest. I literally showed a picture of another vehicle where this panel was intact, right? Literally went out there to forums and looked for others and asked them to check. Literally went out to all of my friends who do have Rivians and asked them to check, right? Literally asked a couple of journalists who were at the media drive to check, right? Like literally did all of this. And then we have this happen, and this guy's still, going after me. I I don't know what to do with it.
You
Um
know, I think that what you can focus here in the comment is a little irresponsible. The irresponsibility that he's picking up here is trying to say, well, you're trying to harm a company out of one little case that was probably nothing. But what is more responsible, to be concerned about the people or to be concerned about the company? A company that has Amazon as its investor, that has had Ford. I think Ford still has some shares on Rivian. So it's really it will not have a money problem anytime soon. It has, I believe, $17 billion in cash waiting to spend and to progress. This will not be the thing that will make Rivian go bankrupt. It will not be an irresponsibility to bring down a company because it won't. But it may be irresponsible not to talk about it. This is the deal.
right, I like, it blows my mind, man. It is, I agree with everything you said. The responsible thing for me to do was to bring it up to everyone's attention and to be honest about not having a second source, thank God, right? And just saying, hey, listen, just check this out. So I you know like, I've been a YouTuber for almost 6 years, and it's weird that, and I guess it's good that crap like this still bothers me, because I do try to do my best and be an independent and unbiased. I mean, I've paid the price for it over and over again, with views and advertisers and sponsors and income, because I like to sleep well at night. I only sleep well at night is that when I am honest with my audience and can live with myself with what I do for a living, which, in this case could save a lot of issues and injuries, and maybe even some lives. So yeah, listen, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. I appreciate you also publishing this, because my goal with this video wasn't to get clicks per se. Like I said, a lot of my advertisers refused to sponsor that video. It was to bring the awareness, and I appreciate that you helped me with that. And hopefully Rivian will investigate it. It looks like they are. That's how I know I'm right. If Rivian is investigating, that means there's a possibility. And at the end of the day, if nothing happens to anybody because of this, I will be a happy camper.
Well, let me thank you, Alex, for allowing me to use the pictures and to give me some background of the story as well for me to write the article, because I think that the important part here, and I share this mission with you, is to warn the customers about something that may hurt them. And if we can do that, I don't care about the comments. I don't care about what the crap that you get sometimes, as you said. That's okay. Let's continue to do our work, and that's it.
All right. Well, I absolutely agree. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll hopefully see you soon.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Alex. Thank you
All
for
right.
the.
So let me answer maybe a couple more questions before I go. I think I have pretty much addressed everything that's went on, and I kind of wanted to be honest with you guys and see what happened, and tell you really what happened, and do it live. So I have answered your questions. Here's another question that I actually wanted to address. So Jay Ramirez says, can another company besides Munro and Associates do an independent teardown of a Rivian? So yes, as a matter of fact, I have reached out to a few of them. None of them wanted to do this. And you, again, make your own decisions on why a teardown company, whatever it might be, wouldn't want to be a part of sort of, exposing a company that might pay them at some point, or maybe already paying them, right? business wise, it's a really bad idea. So I understand why I got pretty much no reply from any of them, because they don't want to turn down business. Remember what happened to Sandy Munro originally, right? If you remember, Sandy Munro became famous, or known because he tore down the Model 3, looked at what it was, and said, "Oh my God, this is crap," right? And people jumped on him for it, right? It wasn't until he did it again and said, "Oh my God, this is the best thing ever." Uh, it, you know, so look what happens when a tear down company goes after, or is honest about an issue with a brand on such a big scale. So yes, Jay Ramirez, there are plenty of other companies who do very much, not plenty, but a few. They do the same thing, and I'm also not very surprised that they decided not to reply to me. At the end of the day, I think the best company to handle this is still Rivian. Okay. They know their manufacturing. They can also hire Sandy Munro if they haven't already, or any of those other companies, and get this right. I did my job. I know this is now under internal investigation within Rivian, from what I was told from the owner who gave me the pictures. And my conscience is clear. So, and generally speaking, by the way, if you're watching my channel for the first time, this is what I do. Uh, I'm not the guy who will get to the vehicle at the media drive and say how awesome it is and how great it is and has no flaws and everything, unless it's actually the case. I'm the guy who's going to do this because I am not going to be on the side of the brands. I'm going to be on the side of you, the consumers, no matter how much less views and money I would receive because of this. If those of you who watched me for a while, you probably remember that my channel used to be everything Tesla was the name, right? And once I switched to E4Electric, I could have kept going with that thing. I mean, look how big the YouTubers are who continued with the whole Tesla is the best story, right? So yeah. So here's a comment, actually. Connor says, well, unless it's Byton. Okay, so Byton spells differently, but no. Don't forget, I have been raving about pretty much all companies that were starting out, or manufacturers that are legacy manufacturers and working on the new model. It's usually not until they go in production and there are actual issues that I have to call them out. There's not much to call out. As a matter of fact, I'm excited when I see a prototype. I'm excited when I see new features and stuff like that. I'm excited when I see new company like VinFast or TOG or Fisker, and I haven't said anything really negative about Fisker or TOG or VinFast because they're in that honeymoon stage, right? There's nothing that can go wrong right now. But I already called out VinFast. By the way, who is my sponsor still until tomorrow? I already called out VinFast for their pricing, right? So it's always great, just like it was with Rivian, until they go in production, and then it's my job to do this. The honest broker says, I usually disagree with your opinion, but that's one reason I watch the channel. More reasons to listen to people I disagree with. You know what? I will absolutely take it, because I also watch videos and TV channels because I disagree with them or partially disagree with them. As a matter of fact, I don't like talking about politics, but just as an example, I'm not a Republican or Democrat. I'm actually independent, but I watch both. I will watch both CNN and Fox News, and I decide, well, that's BS there, that's BS there, but this sounds right, and that sounds right. And then maybe I'll watch some BBC or European sourced news and see, about the third opinion. And sometimes I may not agree with someone else's opinion, but I want to know that it's there. Sometimes it makes me change my mind. Sometimes it makes me adjust my opinion. And sometimes it actually makes me feel like, no, I actually did the right thing with it. Here's another comment, Melody of 1974. Alex, it sounds like you're a fanboy of Volkswagen's app and Tesla service. Yeah, just so you know, I had my car. I finally bitched and complained to Volkswagen about how horrible their software is, and they finally took my car to investigate. And they sent this a couple of guys. One, I think, actually flew from Germany. And I flat out told them that everything that's been done as far as software for Volkswagen is embarrassment to the brand. and I just listed all of these things. I took out my phone. I said, see, this is embarrassing what you did with this app or what's happening with the software. Stop blaming Google. Google, this is not an Android Auto problem because I took my phone and another phone into all these cars and it works perfectly fine. It just doesn't work in your car. So yes, and don't forget Volkswagen was my sponsor and might be in the future. I mean, those brands usually kind of do campaigns, once in a while, and I could be forfeiting a lot of money that Volkswagen may not want to give me because they don't like what I'm saying about their apps. But I think Volkswagen and like Ford is another brand that actually have been almost welcoming my opinion when I call them out on something because they know that people kissing their butts is not making them better. People exposing issues and suggesting that there's a better way to go, or just flat out calling them out, is how you make your brand better. I think Tesla owners and Rivian owners who are upset with me that I'm exposing these things and I'm talking about the negative things should really they should be the number one audience of my channel saying, Alex, thank you so much for making our cars better. Because if anything that's going to happen out of my reports like this is that your cars will get better. You know what I mean? So all right, listen. I think thank you to first of all for to Gustavo for hanging out with me. Thank you for all of your questions. Thank you just even for watching this. And I don't care whether you're on my side or not. I appreciate you guys being part of this live stream. It's going to be reposted, and maybe we'll do another follow up. Once again, thank you to Energy Pal for sponsoring this video and having the balls to sponsor this video. And of course, I will see you next time. And as always, remember to stay charged